Hello there, and welcome to the Value of Everything. Sorry it's been a little while, but I shall be coming back to you with a bit more frequency. Just a few little changes going on in the background in my life, so hopefully that doesn't conflict too much in the future now. So today's topic, and we're going back to the old traditional Value of Everything where I would just do a little bit of a thought experiment on things. But this is probably just a relevant thing which is going on right now, and I find it's a little bit preachy, but I think it's definitely a good lesson to be learned, and that is the benefit of reduction. Now, reduction in terms of like how you live your lifestyle. There's a big phenomenon now about materialism and collecting things, and it does lead when you own more possessions, they become to own you. I always remember the Tyler Durden thing about that in Fight Club, and you'll find that there is a little bit of a method to this craft. Even if you are a hoarder, you understand that the more things you collect, you understand that there's certain values to keeping one item over the other. If push comes to shove and you have to leave your home in the next 5 minutes, you would know pretty quickly which things you want to grab and what things you just want to leave behind and let them burn. So in your mind, there is like some kind of hierarchy of possessions, things that actually are good for you in return. Now, obviously, a lot of these things work in store of wealth. But then obviously there's personal things like your kids and stuff like that, which obviously are going to come first. But in terms of your material life, one of the more important things is obviously the things that enable you to produce. So the thing that's your car and your computer, things like that are going to probably be a little bit more prized. However, a computer is still fairly replaceable. And then there's things that are just a little bit more on the rare side. This obviously depends on if you are in that sort of bracket where you can afford to collect things which are just a bit more outside of like the necessities of life. But one thing that I did notice is that if you do get yourself into a state where you have got tons and tons of stuff, the method of just reducing, boiling down all of these possessions and working out, now does this really is this really required for my life? Does it serve any utility? Am I getting is there a duplication which is going on between me owning this possession and me owning that possession? Can that one item serve the purpose of all of these possessions? As you gradually reduce all of these material goods down into exactly what you need rather than just what you want, then you'll find that you're going to really oil the engine of your life a lot more. Now, I've seen some documentaries on before where these people live in this empty room with just a laptop and stuff like that, and that doesn't seem like a life of just I don't know. They've gone from one extreme to the other of hoarding stuff to just having just one possession. And obviously, their cost base and everything else is very good. They've got a lot of freedom in their lives. They don't have to worry about the house burning down because there's nothing in there to really care about anyway. Just one thing that popped into my mind there is like in the old days, everyone had their doors open. So everyone could walk in, neighbours could walk in and stuff like that because there was nothing to steal anyway. So I remember that little thing. Nowadays, everyone's got doors locked. Everyone doesn't really talk to their neighbours. It's not necessarily a thing about materialism. It's also a little bit more of social connection. But I think materialism does have a general connection to cultures, social cohesion. The more that there is, there's a very few of the haves and there's a very little amount of the have-nots. But one of the key factors might sound a bit Marxist, but from my perspective, the only reason why the haves do have the possessions is because the have-nots allow that to happen. Now, sometimes you could say a lot of the have-nots don't even know what's going on, and the haves have got the lawyers, the accountants, everybody else to use all this coded language and well, when I say coded language, like use the lawyer terms and everything else, file special taxes and send out transactions to tax havens so that they can avoid and circle around all the problems of normal life, like paying your taxes and just general fees in life, whereas the have-nots don't have that. So unless there's visibility on the side of the have-nots and they see that the have-nots are putting the haves into account and saying, okay, are you really doing all this kind of good to society to enable you to have all of these possessions, to be this, or to be put on this pedestal of high material wealth? Have you done enough? And if they haven't, then there's a problem there. And that maybe that's probably part of the disconnect of society, because they're so disconnected, the haves and the have-nots. Then there is this issue of wealth disparity. Now, going back to us and how we live our lives, I've done a lot of that kind of stuff, of just putting loads of the things on eBay and selling it, and then seeing, and then even the stuff that I didn't really want to give up. And I was thinking, I feel a bit bad about letting this stuff go. I've got like some kind of, I don't know, emotional connection to this item, and it sounds silly, but I had to let it go. And then I still a couple of times I still think about it again, thinking, that would be nice, but not in a use term, but just in sort of like, it was like, when you remember the old days and you remember, like, I don't know, an old toy that you had fun with it, but not actually in the terms of, I need to use that right now. So, yeah, the utility purposes of things, if it's not going to get utilized, but it's just this golden memory of something, I really do push you to reduce that item. And then you become a little bit more liquid in your life as well. Obviously, turning a material good into cash is a pain, a massive pain. You've got to find the buyer for the item, and list the items, take the picture. If you want to do things right and you want to get the best value or best money in return, you've got to take a bit of time and effort into each one of these processes. Detailed description, explain exactly what's good about the item, what's bad about the item. It's a lot of work, and people don't even have that much time to do that. I mean, I always think to myself, is it really worth listing something that's, I don't know, under $20? My time is probably worth a lot more than just listing that thing, but at the end of the day, it's just one little bit of crap that you don't need to have cluttering up your place. And then obviously there's another thing about nowadays modern living. Everyone can't afford these big houses anymore, particularly if you're living in Australia. We all live in these little shoe boxes, and you do have this little idea that the big things, if you buy yourself a brand new piece of furniture, unless it's very sought after particular things, like I think bedside tables are quite sought after, but general other things that are very disposable, like I don't know, table and chairs and things like that. People move from one place to another and they have to almost give it away. So again, there's something about society as well where some things which are small and expensive, they really do retain their value. Some things that are large and expensive, because of modern society, you almost have to give them away. So, just this method of collecting things as well, as you really have this massive mound of all these things. I know it's a far more expensive way of doing things, but I guess it's a hard lesson to be learned. After you own all of these possessions and you realise, that's great, that's probably a bit of a waste of time, that's nice. You understand that some things are built well and will last a long time, And some things are very gadgety. Now, I always used to love all the gadgets and the lights and the buttons and all the options. And then I realized quality things don't really do that. Quality things are one thing that's done very well, no mucking around, just a very simplified but quality thing. And then that actually comes out in clothing and art and things like that. Just a very simplified but very good version of one thing only, not trying to do multiple things at the same time. And you'll realise that comes out in quality goods a lot of times. A lot of mass marketed stuff, it just is a waste. So that's just one little sector of just like understanding what's a quality good and just going. And I've learned that the hard way. I always thought like the more buttons, the more features, more the specifications. That's really what's the main thing to get nowadays. But then I realised just something that's maybe not top of the specs, but is just hard as nails and it will last a lifetime, is far more worth it than just you getting this flimsy piece of crap that breaks down every 1 year, 2 years, and you've got to replace it all the time. And if you put it on an Excel spreadsheet, that's going to absolutely kill you in the long run. So in some ways, I recommend that you go away and do hoard things and see how that gets you, and then get to a point where you go, right, okay, well, let's reduce this, let's bring it down, let's see what really is of value. And your understanding of the marketplace is invaluable. Even in this age of AI technology and understanding and big data as well, I'm finding that ratings are absolutely incredibly shit nowadays. In the old days, I could find some decent things, but now it's getting worse and worse because all of these corporations are paying the ratings agencies to give these promising reviews of all the new gear that they're selling. And you don't ever get a good idea of what's all the good old stuff. And that's where the most incredible value is. So understanding and having a good idea of something, of a market, is going to be fantastic in the future, because all of these aggregated ratings sites of what a quality product is incredibly shit now. So go away, hoard, reduce, and let me know how you get on. Anyway, so hopefully I should get more guests onto the show, and I think we're going to take this a little bit more on the blockchain-y route, because I think we've gone a little bit off the tracks, and I really want us to get on to individualism and really having an interconnected society rather than just talking about general topics which everyone else is talking about, because I don't think it really adds too much to the conversation. Anyway, so thanks again, and I shall be back again for more.